All the best. Thank you so much for making this world a meaningful one to live in. Now, tonight's In Focus, we are focusing on a debate that is very close to the upcoming event, which is Transform Africa 2019. We are talking about Africa's digitalization. Very difficult word over there. And we're looking at what has slowed down Africa's digital transformation and a couple of questions that, originate and, rotate around Africa's digital migration, which is, I think, related to industrial revolution. We're going to look into that. Now, I have quite an interesting panel tonight, and I will be introducing each one of them later on in a few seconds. But before we get there, I want to remind you that our topic tonight, we're looking at how can Africa address the challenges that has slowed down its digital transformation. For any comments and opinion, remember to include the hashtag InFocusRW for us to be able to track your comments and your opinion. We want to make sure that we've read all your comments and your opinions tonight, and make sure that all your comments account or contribute to what Rwanda wants to achieve, to what Africa wants to achieve. In a minute, I'll be introducing my panelists. Okay, so wonderful. Thank you so much. Here I am with my panelists. The first one on my immediate left, Mr. Didier Ngurichimfra. Didier Ngurichimfra is the Director of Technology and Innovation at the Smart Africa Secretariat, who are actually the organizers of Transform Africa Summit. Thank you so much, Didier, for joining us tonight. It must be a busy weekend, and now that Transform Africa is coming next week, you have a day to go.
Yes, it's 1 day to go. It starts on Tuesday up to Thursday and Friday. For those one who love golf and the social part of it, they'll enjoy also what we are reserving for them.
Thank you so much for joining us from your preparations into the studios here. And now, right after Didier, we have Josephine Nyiranzeimana. I hope I pronounce it right. Yeah. Government Chief Information Officer at Rwanda Information Society Authority, RISA. Thank you so much for joining us on In Focus tonight.
It's a pleasure.
And then, of course, we have Eden Benimana, this Chief Operations Officer at Tap and Go, CEO, SC Group, the people behind Tap and Go cards.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now, we want to go straight into the challenges of Africa's digital transformation. Maybe I should start with Didier. It's the 5th edition of Transform Africa Summit. We want to know what has been the contribution of Africa's Transform Africa Summit to Africa's digital journey.
The digital transformation journey didn't start with Smart Africa. It started before. I'll give the example of Rwanda, which started in the year 2000, is Vision 2020, where they decided every 5 years to make a plan. If you are familiar to that, it used to be called the NICI plan, the National Information and Communication Infrastructure Plan, where each 5 years they would plan what needs to be done for the country. And that's where most of these large initiatives like the fiber optic for the country, the data center, these e-services and so on, Rwanda Online, were planned and executed. What Smart Africa brought is bringing the ability to federate the continent as one continent, because Africa is 1.2 billion, over 1.2 billion people. If we bring our strength together, if we federate the need together, if we collaborate, we can achieve faster our goals.
Sure.
If we interconnect between ourselves, like having fiber optic connecting each and other country, we'll have more traffic happening in Africa instead of going out of Africa and come back to Africa. I'll just give you a very simple example. Today, when you travel from a country like Rwanda to another country in northern Africa, like Tunisia, you're most likely going through France or through Netherlands before coming back to Africa. And the same happened to data today. You're communicating with someone in Cote d'Ivoire. Most likely you're going to go through either India or through Netherlands or London, just by the time you finish dialing and calling. This is this is an example of things that we want to change. We want to attract more infrastructure in Africa. So when you call, you're sure that your call, it doesn't need to go out of Africa. So it needs infrastructure. So our focus is really on cross-border projects, the type of project that interconnect Africa more, because that's where lies the main challenge today.
Sure.
We're not deeply interconnected, we're not deeply integrated, and that's where Smart Africa comes. So the Transform Africa Summit has conversation around what needs to be done to integrate further Africa, to exchange more between us, to allow more exchanges, more trade using technology.
Sure. Interconnectivity, those are some of the things we'll be talking about tonight. Of course, privileging the opportunities that come with a continental free trade area. But you also mentioned something about Rwanda Online. It's been almost 5 years that Rwanda Online has been established, and this one will probably go to Josephine. Just over 1 million transactions have been made in 5 years. One would say the progress has been slow. If you look at the population of the Rwandans and the transactions that are done, and we only have over 1 million transactions through Irembo, for instance, what do you see as the challenge towards the adoption of that e-platform and e-governance?
Well, thanks first of all for the question. And maybe from our perspective, Irembo was one of the biggest ICT projects in Rwanda, and I have to say we are even happy of the steps so far. Only, as you are asking, the transactions and the use is not that as we wished. So one would be maybe a challenge around the readiness. As Didier mentioned, many of the projects starts with the people that are ready, but you'll find that from the infrastructure perspective, the terrain is not fully ready, but also the skills that is required from the users, the general population, to be able to interact with technology is still a bit limited. So that's another challenge to increase the digital literacy of the population. But also, in terms of the digitalization of the services, you've seen that we have around 100 services online. That's access. But in terms of reception, applying for a service and get it where you are instantaneously, it's not that, we only have around 3 services that can be accessed in that manner. So the journey to digitize services is not an easy one. At times it requires legal reforms, whereby initially the definition of how a service is offered is clearly defined by law, and before changing that requires a law revision. So those are some of the, I'll say, the hindrance to the fast digitization of services, but together with Rwanda Online and other stakeholders, including the Ministry of Justice, a lot of work is being done to ease the digitization of services.
Sure.
Also, on the other side, many programs like the Digital Ambassadors Program are targeting to increase the digital literacy of the citizens, so to get them really ready to consume services that are put online. On the other angle, we also have services offered not by the government. That's, for instance, e-commerce type of services where the private sector can digitize the way they serve their customers. So this is another angle through which we could fast track the digitization of services, and through partnerships and collaboration between the private sector, the government, and other players, it's possible.
Sure.
And yes, events like Transform Africa is where these networks and collaboration are built. So very right in time.
Over there, I'll go to Eden. Eden, Mr. Didier talked about intra-Africa regional trade and opening borders and all that. We know SC Group and Tap and Go has tried to open shops across other countries on the continent. How possible is borderless digital market for African startups on the continent?
Thank you, Ethan, for the question and, of course, for inviting us here today. It's a very good question, and our experience so far has been positive. But maybe let me backtrack a bit, talking about journeys. If we look at the global market and we look at the biggest players that we have in any sector, we find that the biggest companies, for example, Uber, for example, Facebook, for example, Alibaba, all of these companies, we will see that every time a big company has emerged on the global market is because they stepped out of their country, their national market, to actually go bigger. And this shows that the opportunity is there. But then we have all of these big companies, again, which are showing interest in Africa. They're not hiding it. They know the market is large. Didier mentioned the 1.2 billion people that we have. It's a very big size market. Maybe the capacity is not there yet. Maybe the financial means are not there yet. But in business, we look 10 years, 25 years ahead. And these big companies have seen that the market is big. And for us, that's why I was saying the experience has been good. We have been in Cameroon now for a couple of years. We've learned a lot of lessons. We have seen how the business can be expanded in the markets. Right now specifically, we are looking at a number of markets, but specifically, actually, the good news is in June, mid-June, we expect to launch a new market. So this all, it's from our experience. I'm not going to give more news on that. We'll talk about that later. But from our experience, and again, putting it in the larger context, looking at the biggest players in the world, this market is big, and it offers opportunities, and we are ready to actually go in it.
This market is big, but there is also an issue of political will for other countries. If you look at it, it's just usually meet a few challenges. One country agrees, another country doesn't. How do you break that shell? How do we make sure that every country comes on board in Africa to make sure that the digital migration in Africa, the digital market actually grows? How do we leverage the CFTA?
So I think what you're saying here is an important point, and I'd like to differ a little bit from what you said, because Smart Africa is a demonstration of political will. When in 2013, when His Excellency President Kagame invited other head of state here in Kigali, 6 presidents came, and so in total 7 presidents expressed their commitment to create a one market.
Sure.
Because with a single market, a single digital market, because the borders don't really mean a lot with technology. People can collaborate, can trade, can aggregate their abilities together beyond the traditional borders that exist in Africa. And from 2013, it moved from 7 countries to 24 countries. We have a few more countries in the pipeline that are expected to join soon and to announce.
That's
and
almost a half of the continent.
Yes, and in terms of population, it's 600 million, which is half of the population of Africa. Now, what is interesting here is this has moved with countries which are ready. Sometimes when you impose or you use a supply-driven approach where you impose something to other countries, when they're not yet ready, they slow down the rest. But the moment where a country all of them expressed either by joining officially through official exchange of correspondence or through by announcing it in summit like Transform Africa, they join when they are ready. And that makes this initiative actually work easier. It's much easier, and we move actually faster. So it's a combination of demonstration of political will, but also on one hand, on the other hand, the ability to move with the champions, the ones who are ready to actually start and hit the ground running. And that's what is happening with Smart Africa. Everyone you see coming to this event in Transform Africa, they come with a single purpose. How can we transform Africa? The name of the summit is not an accident. When say Transform Africa Summit is what can we do, what can government do, what can private sector do, the international organization, the youth. And if you see the event which is happening this week, it has all these different angles. But the common purpose is how can we use technology to transform Africa and to leapfrog these development stages that many of the countries in Europe and other parts of the world, they had to go through. So we still have that core belief that it's possible. And because of the vision, because of the leadership, all start with the leadership and the will. We believe that it's something that is achievable.
Sure. When I look at the theme of this year, boosting Africa's digital economy, when you talk about economy, money comes in play, and we're looking at the security of the money. You know, thank God that when I was looking at the program, there's one where they'll be talking about cyber security and making sure that money is transacted safely. Do you think Africa is safe and secure for online transactions? I know Tap and Go has tried it. Probably they have faced their own challenges if they are honest enough to share. But do you see, are we ready? We have hackers. We've experienced, Rwanda's experienced a certain setback sometime before. They were transacting some money, school fees, and a Nigerian hacker actually took a big sum of money. Those challenges, are we ready?
I'll tell you that the safest place for a computer to be is to be buried 2 meters under the ground, not connected. That's probably the safest computer in the world, right? So the point is, that shouldn't paralyze us. Technology evolves fast. Even the largest corporation there is no time. I mean, every week or month there is an announcement of a leakage or an issue. It's not something that is particular to Rwanda or particular to Africa. All over the place, these challenges are real. Those threats are real. What is important is for a country to prepare for that. First of all, to have a plan. After a plan, putting the right infrastructure in place, train the people so that they can make sure that they protect this infrastructure that has been established. I'll give the example of Rwanda that I know. I know that there's been, for example, a cybersecurity master plan or a plan for 5 years with very specific interventions on what need to be done to ensure that all these efforts are not just put out there and lost. And it's not only Rwanda, we have a lot of other countries. Cote d'Ivoire, which is leading the cybersecurity initiative in Smart Africa, they've invested a lot. We have Kenya and many, many other countries. So we say that we shouldn't be paralyzed by the fear of what can happen. The threat is real, but we should not be driven by fear. So we should be driven by the objective that we want to attain and take measures to reduce or to mitigate the risks which are associated with technology. And I'm pretty sure you are giving an example of some organizations that were attacked and then they managed to recover. I'm sure that it helped them to actually strengthen, but they are still able to offer the service. So I think the focus is what is most important in cybersecurity, understanding that it's real and we need to work on a plan and we need to make sure that as threats evolved, we also evolve our mechanisms to protect the infrastructure.
Cybersecurity.
And yes, if I may add also to what Didier says, I really concur with it. And I would put the other, angle. Yes, having the infrastructure, putting the teams in place, like we have the Rwanda Cybersecurity Incident Response Team in place. Awareness matters a lot. And thanks for this question. Because security starts by, at the user level. So if the user is not aware of the risks or the danger, then the risk gets higher. So I would say much as we put infrastructure in place, regulations, awareness has to continue. and really train people on how to detect or, to recognize a potential attack. At the same time, put in place, I would say, safeguards for them to not get exposed, because at times the user will not really know how to handle a situation. So cybersecurity is real as a threat, but also mechanisms are in place. And as we talk of innovation, innovative protective measures are also being worked on. So yeah, there's no way to stop the journey.
Sure.
Security can be handled as well. Yeah.
Tapat Goa, millions of money are transacted every single day. How do you manage to overcome these threats, this cybersecurity? Because I believe probably you've been attacked a couple of times.
Thank you, Athan. Have we been attacked? No,
I
not in a serious way.
Tell us.
But our approach is the same as has been highlighted by both Didier and Josephine. The first thing to do is, of course, to be prepared. And preparedness comes from inside and outside. The first thing to adhere to is the policies which are put in place by the different institutions, and that we really try to adhere to it.
Sure.
And the second thing is now internally, we work with different specialists, not just internal, but we try to keep up to date with every threat that we can face and encounter. And this experience that I'm talking about, like I talked about Rwanda, I talked about Cameroon to start with. Dealing with different markets really shows you. And as they said, the threat is always there, but the first thing to do is to really take preventive measures and awareness to the clients, as they said, to make sure that they are aware of what they have in hand. Because the payment method that we introduced brings different benefits, many to the clients, many to the bus operators, many to us as a country. And each one of the different stakeholders involved, they try to make sure they are aware. Starting with the client to make sure that they are aware that this is their pocket. And anytime anything happens, they know how to reach us. And then we follow, as I said, the different measures set inside our own company and outside by the government.
Interesting over there. Still, boosting Africa's digital economy. This comes with education. This comes with mindset. This comes with a number of policies out there. Again, some countries have tried to do something, but others are still lagging behind. How do we move together? How do we fast track this? How do we make sure that this digital transformation is fast and is reliable?
I think first of all is establish a dialogue where we understand the challenges that are shared by countries. We believe that by creating a dialogue, countries can learn from each other. You'll see that, for example, Rwanda has something to offer to this bigger community, which is Smart Africa, and Kenya will have a different perspective. Cote d'Ivoire or Burkina Faso, all of them are members, will bring a different perspective. So best practice sharing, information sharing is very important, because the reality of my neighbor is much closer to me than a reality of something which is happening in the US or in Canada, for example. We usually see delegation from countries visiting Rwanda or different places in Africa. So we mentioned political will. We mentioned the openness, allowing each other to learn from each other, each of us learning from the other. But the last part, and what you said, education and skills, I think it's really the foundation of everything we're doing. You cannot talk about transformation without the skills. It goes. If we really think about a sustainable digital transformation, we really need to have the right skills in here, because when skills are expensive because they are scarce, it will never peak. I just want to connect it to companies like AC Group. They need to have the right engineers. They need to have people who can create new products. Today they're in transport, maybe tomorrow they'll be in something else. So we need to have the right skills, and it's not only through the formal education, universities, but also through short courses, very special skills, and short trainings that address some of these gaps. So I cannot overemphasize more the need of skills. And this is something that is central also to the conversation that the one we have in Transform Africa is actually encouraging to have policies, strong policy about skill development, but attracting also the private sector to build the capacity. Because there's a huge opportunity. There's a huge opportunity for the private sector investing in capacity building and training. There's a tremendous opportunity which is, I think, still untapped and which needs to be corrected. But we can see movement in different places in different countries, and it gives some confidence, some level of comfort that if we continue like that, it will give us the sustainability we want. We don't want something to start and then to have setback later.
Sure. Intervention?
Well, on education, I'll add on maybe an adaptation that is also needed, like the curriculum, the actual curriculum in our education system, to adapt to the technology trends. You would see people doing computer science or any other related course, but yet still the industry grows fast. So what you're studying in 4 years, by the time you join the industry, many things have changed. So there's also a challenge to our academia or the education system to cope with the changes of the digital transformation. So that's maybe also a debate to be started and engage the education system, the higher learning institutions, but also even from starting with the grassroots, the primary level. So what changes are needed there so that the kids really grow into digital citizens, ready to live in the digital economy and contribute, but also play their role as either innovators or the people of the knowledge-based economy, kind of. This also brings back the other aspect of Africans designing solutions for Africa. At times we had solutions designed elsewhere and customized to address our needs, but it's high time, to have African kids educated to develop solutions for their own society challenges.
Sure.
And this is doable, and through technology or even the collaboration between private sector and the academia, it's doable. So only to encourage that and then to call for awareness, so that the academic communities and research communities in Africa do not play catch-up. They have to be on the ride at this particular time.
Probably that's what SC Group is doing over there.
To jump back a bit on digital transformation and ensuring its sustainability. So I will talk specifically as from the perspective of a startup. Digital transformation in most African countries, actually in most world economies, is brought by private sector and startups to a large extent. I won't talk about specific percentages, but for us specifically as startups, the first thing to do is to take the opportunities which are given to us. Any startup brings innovative solutions. Usually, that's a good thing, attribute to have. And in our experience, innovative solutions need inclusive and conducive environment to actually be able to develop. And Rwanda has really shown openness to this. As from our experience, the solution that we brought, we approached government. We had institutions there. We presented the solution that we had, and they were open to it. And they were, most importantly, open to actually adapting regulations, which is something that was brought up earlier. Any of these solutions which are brought, which will contribute to the digital transformation of Africa, really need a bit of flexibility on the level of government and regulation. And that has been that have been shown here in Rwanda. And this is an opportunity for us as businesses to actually be taken. So we take this and now we go from there. But our charge, our responsibility is to create opportunities, as was brought up. We create opportunities by creating jobs from the little profit that we get, or by expanding our solutions. And these both are creating jobs, brings more people into the market, into the economy, brings them more funding for themselves, either to develop other solutions or to actually improve the solutions which are existing. But that also allows for us to actually continue this sustainability. If we are ensuring education, if we are ensuring the development of these solutions, this really creates a platform on which the future generations can actually start now developing upon.
Sure. I want to bring in quite an interesting topic. I know there is this lady who's coming to attend a Transform Africa Summit. What's her name again?
Sophia?
Sophia. Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has robbed people of their jobs. I don't know if Tap and Go is part of the artificial intelligence, but many people lost their jobs when cards were introduced.
You'll allow me to intervene there.
Sure. That's an innovation that
Mm.
was up there that is close to artificial intelligence. These people, the robotics are coming in to take our jobs. How do we convince people that this is actually for the good?
Well, I think it will answer that, but let me chip in here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think artificial intelligence for me gives the opportunity to really use data in a very innovative way. We generate data all the time. When you speak, your body language, the combination of different information, generating new information. What artificial intelligence do today is allowed to tap into a vast amount of information and make some good use of it. You'll see Sophia this week. She will be interviewed by a person, and it's a humanoid robot, so behave like a human and can think and can smile and so on. Well, again, this artificial intelligence needs to have a proper framework so that it used in a good way, because it can also be used in a bad way. Like everything in life, I don't think it's only artificial intelligence or technology. There's always a choice of using something for good or for bad. So what we advocate is actually that it's used for good. So I think the word even in private sector, it's competition. You have to reinvent yourself. And the same also with technology here. It's changing the way we work, we relate, we do business. And if you don't reinvent yourself as a company, you die, because the world is moving very, very fast. So the same for jobs. You remember 20 years ago, you had those typists.
Yeah.
You remember near
the
the taxi parks, like the bus parks.
Yeah.
You used to see those ladies typing. Where are they today? They are no longer there. Because I'm sure when you were preparing this this evening, you type your own notes.
Exactly.
You didn't have someone to type for you. The idea is actually to prepare these people for the next type of jobs. Because inevitably, with technology or not, there'll always be changes. So it's actually giving the right skills to those people, so they can actually also bring, get the new expertise to tackle new type of jobs or to create new type of jobs. So what is important is actually to properly think about it. Today, you can have someone here working for a company in the US. When it's daytime here, they are working in the US, maybe they are sleeping, but they do the work. Why? Because they have a certain skill that a company in the US would want to employ here. So it's really creates a need of reinventing yourself all the time, making sure that you're always on the top. What I studied 10 years ago, 15 years ago is no longer relevant, even myself.
Yeah.
I need to invest in myself to learn more so that I can respond to the need of the market.
Sure.
So I don't think we'll have a situation where things are static. It will never happen. It's a call, actually, and if we don't do that, the world is going to go faster than us. So I don't think we have also the luxury of waiting and sitting in a status quo and remain. We need to move very fast.
Yeah.
And technology forces you anyway. You will not have the choice today. You have to move.
Thank you for defending Eden. But how do you make it inclusive, this digital transformation?
Maybe
I'll let you go first.
Thank you so much for letting me start. This is anyway, from my perspective and from many people who understand me, this is a type of sci-fi conversation which, if not taken properly, can go in different ways. So allow me to maybe bring my point first. Let's start with Tap and Go and the change that it brought. And I will bring it along with Rwanda Online, actually. Because these are two services which came to actually improve lives.
Yeah, I know. There are many but two who are doing, I think, at Mureje level, who lost their jobs.
But these solutions both are targeting digital and financial inclusion. I will start with the digital part specifically here. These solutions, you just mentioned the people who were typing and everything. Yeah. But let's focus on let's start now from the perspective of me and you who got to pay for water. If you have to wait for 50 minutes, that means you are waiting 50 minutes where you can be productive otherwise. At your job or spend time with your kids. You talked about Mother's Days.
Yeah.
Happy Mother's Days to every mother.
Yeah.
And all of these things that you can be doing. And these technologies are coming to actually improve people's lives. If we talk 10 years, 20 years down the road, what we target, as specifically as AC Group, is to make everything flawless. If we're talking about transport, we want any person to be able to move, not to have the hassle of trying to look for money at the last second or try to book your trip at the last second. We want to make solutions which are there to anticipate and help you along, which is where we now bring in AI and data. All of this data that we are collecting, as we allow ourselves to actually go through this experiment, is supposed to help us, each personally. If I wake up in the morning, the first thing usually that happens is a phone will wake me up at 6 a.m. to go to the job. And I have a calendar on Google Drive which is supposed to do all of this. And these technologies came, they changed the landscape of our lives. But they are there to improve it. And they are there to actually make our lives more efficient. Spend less time, make more money. Or spend less time, do more with it. And that's the first thing. Now, specifically for us, when we came, there were jobs, a specific job which was there.
They were conveyor.
And we changed the environment.
Yeah.
We introduced a new payment system.
Yeah.
But now what we try to do is to have these training programs so that people can undergo them and take new jobs under our company. We have now the agents who sell the cards. We have our ground team. We have all of these things, teams which are supposed to actually be taking care of different responsibilities. Because if a bus has to move, somebody has to make sure that it's moving. We work in collaboration with our team, government regulations who are following on the ground to make sure that everything is being done properly, and bus operators. So the job is transformed. Speaking of Transform Africa, it's transformed, but it's not eliminated. So it's our task now to actually make sure we prepare ourselves and to prepare our people actually to move forward, which is what AC Group is trying to do.
Interesting.
I'll build on that saying. The job is transformed, rather. It's not lost. Well, I would say that with technology, or from the bigger picture of the knowledge-based economy, we have a chance to have humans explore further their capabilities. You've realized that the word innovation is becoming,
talk of town.
a bit, I would say, in everything you have to put some innovation.
Yeah.
So to say that artificial intelligence is rather, AI is rather challenging humans to explore further their minds or, their capabilities. Taking the example of the transformed jobs from a repetitive kind of type of job where you do the same thing every day to something that requires you to learn and learn even tomorrow. So that's where we're heading, whereby people will no longer have to do the accounting because there are machines that can do it efficiently and effectively. But those applications or systems doing the accounting are innovated by humans. So the human will go on the other side to create new, effective, and efficient solutions using digital technologies. So that speaks to the previous question of how the education system gets ready for that. Because if we are to go in that direction, we have to make sure we are ready, the students or, the next generation is well prepared. So I would say it's a good challenge, though.
If you allow me to add one more point, talking about the future. We talked about how Africa is a very large economy. It is mentioned many, many times that Africa may be the next biggest economy. It's our challenge to make that happen. And change is uncomfortable. We have to undergo these things at a pace which is not really like what we would like, but we challenge ourselves to actually not be stagnant, as was mentioned, or more specifically, not to stay in the same place. Because we have the opportunities, we have the solutions. We talked about homegrown solutions. There are so many startups in Rwanda, in Africa, which are developing solutions tailor-made for Africa to address the concerns of every one of us. So we adapt to these solutions, we make them help us to move, to become actually the next economy. Asia, 30 years ago, was not expected to become what it is today. China, if we look back 25 years, 30 years, it was not expected to be what it is today. But through the adaptation of different solutions, it really moved, both the continent and the country. So it's our challenge now to actually be prepared to step there.
And if I may, these challenges brings the new type of skills. So I might be a doctor today, but with the digital economy, I need to have some digital skills for me to be able to leverage technology in my career as a doctor. So we'll have some new skills like digital skills for doctors, so they can really leverage technology to perform, their doctor-related or, serve the patients they receive. The same applies in agriculture. Education, like teachers have to have some certain skills so to be able to really leverage technology while educating the students. So it's not that being a teacher is no longer relevant, but you can be a digital teacher, let me put it that way, or a digital doctor. That means you are very fluent with technology and you can really use it to improve on whatever business you're doing, and it helps you do it better.
I know we don't have much time, but I want to check some of your comments and opinion on via Twitter handle. Let me ask my director my cameraman so let me check some of the comments real fast before we go to quite a number of Premier League comments here. I know the Premier League has ended, but let's focus on In Focus tonight. Now, some of the comments here. Nwara and confident. The African youth still believes that they are new Zuckerberg and Bill Gates. They want to copy and paste projects and output. I think we should come up with new ideas of our own, with our own income, and suppose others as their role models and mentors. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you so much, Nwara, for your comment over there. Let me see. So we are looking at what of political will, mindset, and education system, which one has played a bigger role in slowing down progress of Africa's digital transformation. And Dash here, there's this gentleman, I don't know if it's a gentleman or lady, called Dash Olivier Kodo. Definitely mindset. I cannot argue education and others, but mindset. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, there are quite a number of comments. I don't know which one I should begin with. Then I have this one. Turatsinze Emmanuel. I think in general we cannot differentiate low political will and the mindset of colonialism. So if the world sees Africa as a continent that cannot compete with Europe, Asia, and our leaders accept that with full understanding, the problem is the fear of stopping aid. Quite a different angle over there. But, well, I think there's a huge mix-up with comments over here. But in focus, let me see. Anyways, you've seen the comments over there, quite a number of them. We want to know, this Transform Africa Summit, starting with UDDA, what should Muturaji expect out of it? This is something that have been hosted in Kigali for 5 years running, repeatedly 5 times in Kigali. What should Muturaji expect from this specific conference?
Well, I think for the Muturage or the Lambda citizen, you expect to see his life change, his life becoming easier, interactive with government, buying product and services. Yeah. I think that's really practically what we want to see. We want to see the type of investment that relate to the life of the people. So our focus, the focus of the next 3 days will be investment. Not just talk, beyond talk, what needs to be done and how can we put the means in action so that it happens. So that's really the focus of Transform Africa this year. And we just focus on that. Investment into practical initiative, practical project that will have an impact to the life of the citizens.
Sure. Any projections, any targets? Are you looking forward to something?
Well,
this should probably be your closing remarks because I'm told we have less than 3 minutes.
Sure. I was to also relate to the introduction. So how do we keep the maximum value in Africa? So how can the citizen really use technology and get value? So this is the discussions that will be happening in the 3 days to come. And as he says, investment to make that happen. So how do we continue to remove roaming charges? As I travel, I can still use my phone without having to pay extra. Sure. Or how do I market or access markets in other countries in Africa? How do I leverage connectivity and learn from a good university in another country in Africa? Many things.
Yours is a different question. Your startup, an innovation, an African startup. This probably your answer will inform DGA and Smart Africa and plus RISA. What do you need as African startups to thrive, to create solutions that are actually needed in Africa? And of course, what should Continental Free Trade area serve you as African startups?
A very good question.
Yeah.
And what do we need? That's the first thing we already discussed. It's the openness and the adaptability of regulation. Because the first thing we do as the private sector and specifically as startups, we try to develop solutions. We want to sell solutions, and we want these solutions to succeed. So openness allows us to actually test these solutions in the market and improve them continuously, and to truly deliver on the promise of digital transformation. So that's the first thing.
Thank you so much. I hope I'll end it here unless you want to add something very small.
Very, very small. I'd like to invite those who never collected their badges. Please come, take your badge. Make sure you are part of this conversation, which is happening from Tuesday up to Thursday. And let's work together to transform Africa.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Didier.
Thank you. Just from us, one thing also, visit our booth. It's going to be very interesting.
You're going to pay for that. Thank you, Didier. Thank you, Josephine. Thank you so much, Eden, for coming through. And also for you for following this conversation. It doesn't end here. It has actually started, because starting Tuesday through Friday, there will be Transform Africa. Talking about the same thing, transforming Africa in a digital way. Transforming Africa, digital economy. I guess. Quite interesting conversation over there. If you're a digital geek, don't miss out. If you're curious to know where Africa is headed in the 21st century, digital transformation and all that, and if you want to see the first robotic Sophia, please do pass by the Kigali Convention Center next week to meet the lady who is making history. And for me and everyone here at Rwanda Television, have a good night. Up next is news in English. Bye-bye.